And
We're doing fine.
all right, great.
All
Great.
right. So our speaker for today is Oluwaseun Adekambi. Mr. Oluwaseun Adekambi is a seasoned growth expert and product manager, renowned for his leadership in driving innovation and executing cutting-edge tech products. With a wealth of experience leading cross-functional teams, Oluwaseun specializes in research, product development, launch strategies, and continuous refinement of world-class technology solutions. He seamlessly blends his deep expertise in agile and scrum methodologies with a keen marketing orientation, ensuring that product strategies align with market needs and corporate goals. Mr. Oluwaseun excels in prioritizing and managing multiple projects without compromising on efficiency or effectiveness. As a digital marketing specialist, he has a proven track record of crafting and executing robust strategies that effectively targets the right audiences on the most appropriate platforms, whether paid, owned, or earned, with content that delivers measurable results. His analytical abilities enable him to interpret both product and marketing data to achieve long-term and short-term corporate objectives. His key career highlights include leading the development of one of Nigeria's fastest and most agile pension payment gateway platforms, pioneering the creation of one of the country's first virtual chatbots for pension services, designing strategies for financial inclusion products that have positively impacted undeserved communities, spearheading innovative features such as smart routing and social commerce, significantly enhancing customer engagement and business growth. Mr. Oluwaseun's contributions have directly resulted in significant capital raises and increased company valuation, highlighted by securing the prestigious Google Black Founders Fund. His achievements have also been recognized with awards, including being named the top financial inclusive company of the year by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Technology to drive growth, financial. Ladies, let's give a round of applause to Mr. Seun Adekambi,
Oh,
as
thank
he
you.
will be lecturing us on product management.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. At some point I was like, oh my God, is that me that you're reading? Is that me? But thank you so much. Really, really means a lot. Like, thinking, you know, back, like looking back, I'm like, okay,
Welcome.
thank God for grace. Thank God
Thank you
for
so
grace.
much for making our time to be here, sir.
All right, you're welcome. All right, no problem. Thank you, Grace. Thank you so much, Deborah, for this opportunity once again. I'm so grateful.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sheung.
I'm so
I'm
grateful.
glad to have you. Thank you for always being a great support and for your great and highly insightful sessions. Ladies, please, this is one of my mentors. He's my mentor in the product management sector, right? So please do help me really appreciate him and welcome him properly, please. He's always been a devoted supporter of this platform. And this is not his first, this is not his second. He's been a great inspiration in helping us to build everyone that avails herself on this platform. So he's a major contributor to this platform. Thank you so much. Out of his very busy schedule, he's deemed it fit to still couch out this time and be with us today. I really do appreciate you, Mr. Sheung. God bless.
Amen. Thank you so much, Deborah. And like you've rightly said, I'm family now. Like um, this is not just you and your team. This is me being a part of this team. Pushing this vision. Carrying it on my head. Taking it everywhere I go. And I'm super proud to see what we've achieved over the years. And I can't wait for us to do 20 years anniversary of this, or even 40 years anniversary of this. Like, because I imagine how much more people would have impacted. I imagine the level of impact we would have made, and I look forward to us doing more together. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much. All right, let me share my screen. Let me know as soon as it comes up. So we'll be diving in today, and we have a very, very interesting topic we'll be looking at today. Very, very interesting one. I'm very happy that um, the topic was, would I say, connected to. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, I
We
can.
can.
Great, great, great. Okay, great. Thank you so much. So I'm very excited that this topic actually speaks to not just the theme of the entire program, but so exactly what is happening in the modern day, right? And compared to previous edition, this particular topic explores a very new dimension, right? And it's going to take us deep into how we can take advantage of opportunities that are made available to us in this current century and this in this current time, right? So the theme is sustainable innovation in the digital economy, addressing legal and regulatory hurdles, right? Um, to start with, before we dive deep, I would like to understand our level. I like that the demonstrator asked the question. She asked, what is our knowledge of product management and all of that. So I'll be diving deep into that, and I'll also be telling you how this is related to our theme, right? So, but before we go further, I'd like to also hear more. How many of you have heard of innovation, right? Either innovation, sustainability, digital economy, any of these three terminologies. So now feel free to put it in the chat. Now, moderator, I'll need your help. If we have the participants dropping any of them in the chat, you can help me with reading it because I'm unable to see the chats at the moment. So I'll be happy if you can read it to me. And then,
Okay.
if possible, if I don't know if we
Let
could
me
have
put
some
this
people on mute as well. Um, is that possible as well? If they raise their hands and then we allow them speak, is that possible?
Okay. Someone said
Yes.
I've heard of the three. Oluwadamilare Boluwatife says I've heard of the three.
Oh, great. So, can anyone tell me what they understand? So, what do you understand by, say, sustainability, for instance, or innovation? Any of them? So, just a simple definition.
Yes.
All right. Who's going first? Who's going first?
Okay. If you have Oluwadamilare, are you able to?
Yeah. So you can put this in the chat, or you can, raise your hand so
Okay.
that you can be allowed to speak. Any of the two works for me. So, anyone?
Okay. Is somebody's hand up right now? I'm not saying, okay, I'm saying someone's hand. Okay. All
So tell
right.
me.
Boluwatife, you can talk.
Yeah. So tell me your
So I
name, where you are joining us from,
okay,
and then you can now go ahead to answer the question.
okay. So I'm Oluwadamilare Toluwanibuluwatife. I'm joining in from Lagos, and I believe innovation means creativity. It means the ability to create or make something out of nothing, to develop an idea that no one has thought of, and to just make something out of it.
Hmm. Awesome. Awesome. Very good and very apt. Anybody else? Anybody else?
If you want to answer, please raise your hand so I can unmute you.
So tell me what you understand by sustainability or innovation.
Sustain- Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm one for Jennifer. I'm joining from Anambra.
Okay, great. Go
Sustainability
ahead.
is the ability to maintain a living for a long time with a certain resources that you have around you. It's the ability for you to manage the resources you have to be able to stay for a long while or be able to create out something new. So I think that's what sustainability means.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much for that. So before proceeding, do we have anybody else? Do we have anybody else before I proceed? Okay. So very apt definitions. Very thank you so much for everyone that has contributed, right? So it's a very interesting concept, right? Because if you listen to the news or if you go on the internet and you check things that are happening in the World Forum, you realize that there is a current conversation about sustainability, right? And I'm also very sure you must have heard of product management, a lot of time, especially people who have an interest in tech, right? You'd hear the term product management a number of times, right? So what then is the adjoining line? What is the connection? How does product management relates to sustainability and all of that? So we're going to be unpacking that and unraveling that today. But before really telling you about sustainability and what it entails, let me start from the top. Let me start from what product management is, right? Now, I'm sure a lot of you, right, when you look at your mobile device, right, if you check your mobile device, you'd see a number of apps. You'd see your WhatsApp. You'd see, say for instance, Zoom is installed as an app on your phone. You have a notification, maybe like a Bible app, or something, or even your school might have a mobile app. All of these things, right? All these things are products, right? So product in itself, right, exists in many forms. There is physical products, there is the digital products, right? So physical products, digital products. So digital products example would be your mobile apps. If you visit a website, for instance, like Jumia or Child Deck, these are products as well. So Jumia is a product, Chowdeck is a product, Gigi.ng is a product, right? Law Pavilion is a product. So these are like platforms. These are things that serve a purpose, that does something. As far as something can take you from a point of a problem to a point of a solution, then it's a product. I don't know if you caught that. If something can take you from problem to solution, then it is a product, right? So, for instance, I'm hungry. I go on Child Deck, I order for food, and then I get my food. That's a that's a product. It solves the problem of hunger. Oh, I want to send money. I go on Flutterwave. I put in your account number and I send money to you, and you receive the money. That's a product because it solved the problem, right? So, do we all understand what a product is? Good. I believe that's now clear to you, right now. So now we already understand what a product is. Now think about it. In the process of creating a product, there has to be someone that would do the research, that would check, okay, how am I sure people need this thing? How am I sure that the market is feasible? How am I sure people will pay for this thing? Right? There has to be someone that does the mapping that, okay, how many engineers do we need? How long will it take for us to release these products? Um, what are the phases? Are we doing maybe feature A first? Then by next month we'll add feature B. By upper month we'll add feature. So there has to be someone that organizes the roadmap, the architecture, that manages the scope, the time, the budget, that talks to stakeholders, engages investors as to the, the revenue projection and all of those things, right? That person is who you call a product manager. So a product manager is someone that engages in all the major aspects of the life cycle of the product. Now there are six, yes, about 5 to 6 major phases, right? And I want you to take this down, especially those people who said they don't know what a product manager does, right? This is very important for you. There are about 5 to 6 phases that you need to know. So there's the first phase, which is research. So the research phase is the point where the product manager does the competitor analysis, market research. They try to understand if this product is needed. You know, how many people would use it, all of those things. So there's a research phase, right? Then there's the planning phase, which is the second phase. So the planning phase is where they now put all of this research together. They build a document called the PRD, where they detail how the product should function. What is the acceptance criteria? You know, what should the user be able to do and what should they not be able to do, on the product, right? So they detail all those things, they detail how it will look, the visual, right? They work with the UI UX designer to ensure that, okay, where would they click on? When they click on this, where does it go? So they map out all those things, right? I'm sure a lot of you are like, wow, this is interesting, especially people who are very strategic and who like to solve problems for users. Product management is a very interesting field because it exposes you to, really tasking yourself in solving problems, especially people who are entrepreneurial in nature. It helps you to, wake that side of your brain that, really thinks of how do I solve real life problems for people, right? So you have the planning phase, which details the planning of how you are going to build the product, how long would it take, what you break it down into sprints. What are we doing the first 2 weeks? What's going to be the backlog? What are we doing later? All of those things, right? Then you have the building phase. The building phase is where the product manager now actually actively builds. Every day you call your engineers, okay, what have we done? And then you test it. Okay, this feature has been released to the production environment or to the live environment, right? And then you go there and test and say, okay, is it working like like I expected to, right? You now detail what your observation from the tests, what should we adjust from these tests, all of those things, right? A lot of these apps that you use, for instance, your WhatsApp, when you see them release a new feature, a lot of work goes into those features, right? A lot of testing, it takes months to prepare for these things, right? Because a product manager has to ensure that it doesn't crash, it doesn't give an error, it doesn't perform, in a wrong way. So a lot of those things are within the confines of what a product manager should do, right? So there's the building phase, which is the third phase, right? Then there's the release phase. The release phase is where the product manager now ensures that, okay, now that we have built this product, we have built this feature, let's take it to market. Let's tell people about it. Let's run ads on it. Let's grow it. Let's grow our users. Let's gather user signups, activation, retention, all of those things. That's where you now, pull all of those things together. So that's a release phase. It's also called the go to market phase, right? Then we have the refine phase, right? We have the refine phase, right? So the refine phase is where the product manager now monitors the product to see if we need to optimize something within the product, right? You are tracking, you are looking at your dashboard. Where are we having the fall off? Where are people dropping? What can we do to cancel or reduce the drop offs? Okay, what is giving users the most happiness? You're measuring customer satisfaction, you're measuring retention, you're measuring so many things to ensure that the product is doing what it's supposed to do, or if you need to quickly fix something based on what the market is saying or the current economic realities, all of those things, you begin to like iterate, right? Now, there's another phase which is not so common but is also existent. Perhaps you can say it's a silent phase, which is the retirement phase. The retirement phase is where maybe you release a feature and the feature is not doing what it's supposed to do, or is rather causing a downturn in your numbers. Then you roll it back, right? You roll it back. It means you take it back, or you take it out of um, the product, or you entirely retire the product completely. So when you are retiring something, there's an entire phase to it because you're going to do transition planning. You're going to do a lot of things around support, how to ensure that um, customers don't get impacted on as a result of that rollback, right? So if you can understand all these phases I've mentioned, all the 6 phases, you are going to be a successful product manager because everything a product manager does, right, is within these 6 phases. No matter who the person is, be it a chief of product manager or a product specialist, depending on what role the person is playing, it falls within these 6 phases I've just shared with you. So let's recap. You have the research phase, the planning phase, the building phase, the release phase, the refine phase, and the retirement phase, right? So those are 6 important phases of product management, and that talks about the activities of product managers, and all of the things a product manager does within a product. Now we've done 2 things. We've defined the products. We've also defined the different aspects within product management, right? Now, let's also bring this home. You've heard of product innovation, right? And you ask yourself, there's product innovation, there's product iteration, right? What is the difference between both, right? So product innovation is you basically saying that, you know what, let's say the way people eat something, they eat with their hands, right? You now say, okay, you know what, let me carve out something from wood called a spoon, and let people now, rather than use their hands, let them use a spoon, right? So that's you are innovating something that did not exist. You are bringing it to form. Yeah, a product manager who is innovative is basically saying, okay, let me think of something from somewhere, let me bring it into what I'm doing, and let me see if it will change results. So I'll give another example. People normally make payments using fiat currencies, right? Naira, dollars, and all of that. And then you're like, okay, you know what, in my product, I want to bring in cryptocurrency so that people can pay with digital currencies. Now, that's a type of innovation. So there are different levels, basically saying innovation means you taking a different approach, right? Solving in a dynamic way, right? Now, iteration is basically saying, how am I developing what already exists? And I'll give you an example, right? Your mobile app, your WhatsApp, right? The WhatsApp you use, I'm sure from time to time they tell you to update the app. When you update the app, you particularly see that it's not like anything changed particularly, but what changed is where you used to check your status, they've moved it to another part. Or maybe where you used to make calls, they've taken it to the bottom left. They're just making adjustments to see how users would interact with those features. They're testing new things, testing new interfaces, right? So they didn't entirely change the entire work of WhatsApp or what it does, but they are iterating, they are building upon what they have done. They are layering new additions or new improvements. It can be a minor improvement like a color change or a or a symbol change, something that just really just helps users do something a little better, but it doesn't change the entire functionality, right? So that's the difference between product innovation and product iteration. I want you to know these things because towards the end of this session, I'll be asking you some questions, and I would like to know how much of these things you've taken in, right? So now, for the people that asked what is product management, I believe you now have clarity. And for those ones that also wanted to know what does product innovation means, I believe you now also have clarity, right? So what is sustainable product management, right? So sustainable product management is a proactive approach that prioritizes three things: the environment, the social context, and economic factors, right? Those three things are important, right? Some people call it ESG, some people call it, there are different names. But right now, there's a strong gravitation towards, no matter what you do right now, if you're a lawyer, you're a banker, you are a marine biologist, you're a doctor, whatever you do in life, there is a new awareness, right? That is, everything you do, it has to be tied to the environment, it has to be tied to the social context, and it has to be tied to the economy, right? Moderator, please let me know if I'm still audible. Hello?
Yes, you.
Okay, great. All right, awesome. Let me proceed then. Is there any, I think I heard some sounds. Do we have anything in the chat box, or is there any notification that I think I should know about?
No, I'll see to the fact that the sound will stop now. Probably it's the join and leave sound.
Okay, no problems. All right. So there are three factors we highlighted: environmental factors, social factors, and economic factors. So anytime we talk about sustainability, you're talking about these three things. How does it affect the environment? How does it affect the people, the culture? How does it also affect the economy, right? So and we are now tying this concept to product management. So sustainable product management relates to creating lasting value, minimizing environmental harm, and encouraging ethical business practices, right? So the first part, environmental responsibility. So what are you doing in this case? You are minimizing resource consumption, reducing waste, promoting energy efficiency, right? As tenants to environmental responsibility. Then there's the second part, the social impact, which is where you ensure that your products are beneficial to both consumers and the society at large, respecting human rights, promoting fair labor practices, and ensuring inclusivity, right? So that's the social arm of it. Now, there's a third arm of it, which is social impact, right? Um, which is economic impact. That's a typo. So it means that your products should be beneficial to the economy. It should be beneficial to um, the general well-being of human life in terms of ability to make money, ability to be sustained, to like, what do you call that thing now? To be self-sustainable, right? So those three things are very important: environment, social, and economic factors, right? Now, let's look at what is the influence product managers have on sustainability in tech products. Remember, we've talked about who product managers are. We've also talked about what a product is, and what role a product manager plays in terms of creating a product, right? We've also looked at what sustainability is and what are the three factors that detail sustainability, right? So now let's look at what the influence is. What's the relationship, right? So follow me. It says product managers have a pivotal role in incorporating sustainability principles into technology products. They influence design decisions, feature selection, and overall product strategy. And I'm going to be giving you some examples that justify this, right? So remember, I told you that a product manager starts from the very scratch. That is, from the moment when you have an idea that, oh, I want to build this thing. I want to build an app that helps people to know what the weather is. Or I want to build an app that helps people to measure, their or know what clothes they can wear, right? The moment you have the idea, right? As early as you have the idea, you have to start thinking of sustainability from that point. So sustainability now means, how am I sure that this idea is going to impact the economy positively? Or how am I sure that this idea is going to impact the environment positively, or even the well-being, the social way of life of people? And I'm going to give you an example. For those of you that live in Lagos or Ibadan, or Abuja, right? You must have heard of Chowdeck, right? You must have heard of Chowdeck. Chowdeck is like Jumia Foods. What they do is they basically help you. You can basically go on their app, order for food, and you get it delivered at your doorstep. Now, that entirely is not a new idea. I mean, that concept have existed a long time ago. People, since when the first food delivery app came into Nigeria, people have been very conversant to the fact that, okay, yes, I can order for food and get it. But there's something Chowdeck did differently. When you look at the Chowdeck story, what Chowdeck did differently is that they created their business model around sustainability, right? And tell me, how is this possible? The first thing they did is that the delivery bikes or the delivery vehicle, right? They don't you find them driving bicycles rather than motorcycles, right? Because the reason why they're doing that is they're trying to reduce CO2 emissions, right? They're like, okay, if everybody's ordering for food every day, like let's say 100,000 people in Lagos order for food every day, and you are driving a bike across, you have to consume fuel, all of those things. And then automatically you are impacting the climate, you're causing climate change, all of those things. So you know what they now did? They purchased bicycles, and then they ensured that they hired people who live within the locality of the customers, right? So if you're in Yaba and you're ordering for food from a restaurant in Yaba, they match you with someone who drives a bicycle around, who is one of their staff, who now picks up the food and delivers to you directly, right? Guess what? What they are doing is ensuring that they are cutting down CO2 emissions, right? Because of that, they've been able to raise good funding and a lot of customers who are environment sensitive, right? They would rather order from Child Deck than other options because they are like, okay, I want to buy food and I know that I'm not hurting the environment, right? So that's the Child Deck example. And there are a number of other examples of businesses that have embedded sustainability into their products, right? So as a product manager, you need to be very conscious of, okay, am I energy efficient? Am I managing resources in a way that I am not negatively impacting um, the ESG or the sustainability metrics, right? So we have 3 bullet points here, right? We said first thing is product managers should advocate for eco-friendly materials, energy efficient components, and reduced packaging. The second is product managers can design interfaces that encourage sustainable behaviors such as reducing energy consumption and minimizing data usage, right? Then the third one is product managers can integrate sustainability into product development processes, ensuring that the product lifecycle aligns with environmental and social goals, right? And I'm going to say something here. I'm going to say something very important. We have come to a new time where you just having a knowledge of your domain area is not enough. So, oh, I'm a lawyer. That's not new anymore. Like, oh, I'm a doctor. It's not new. Oh, I'm an engineer. All these things are no more new. The current world we live in are very focused on niches. How are you able to niche yourself, right? So nowadays you're going to find out that you see some people who say, oh, I'm a lawyer who has focus on blockchain, or oh, I'm a lawyer who has a special focus on AI, or I'm a lawyer who has a special focus on sustainability, right? So people are defining, creating new niches and dominating those new niches. Now there are product managers who says, oh, I'm a data-driven product manager, or I'm a growth-driven product manager, right? Or I'm an AI-led product manager. So like nowadays, people are beginning to do things that make them standouts or become extra, right? So you taking part in this training, right, it helps you to also think in a deeper way. Like, okay, even if I run a small business by the street or by my school, I can start to think of, okay, why not let me incorporate sustainability into my business so that I can stand out from the crowd, right? So that if people ask me that, oh, I sell parfait or I sell snacks, and I'm telling them that, oh, the difference between my business and the other business is that I'm eco-friendly. My packaging is biodegradable. I'm producing my stuff without burning fossil fuel, or I'm not using charcoal, or I'm not using, like you state out the things that make you stand out. You realize that people begin to see why you are better than what currently exists, or the norm in this case, right? So it's good that you listen to this topics like this, because it helps you to realize new things you can add to yourself and say, okay, wait, oh, I've never thought about this thing. Why not let me just pick a niche, add it to what I already know, and stand out, so that if people are thinking of, oh, let me look for someone who is a lawyer who is especially focused on sustainability or eco-friendliness, they can say, yes, this person is the only person, or maybe this person is one out of 20 people that knows this topic, right? So I want you to open your ears, take things down, and feel free to ask me questions at any point, right? So let's continue. So the next subheading we have is aligning product innovation with environmental, social, and economic goals, right? So product innovation today must be able to integrate sustainability by balancing environmental, social, and economic objectives, right? So aligning development with these goals ensures responsible growth, long-term value, and resilience in the competitive market. So just like I've said, right, you being environmentally conscious or social or economically conscious, it stands you out in the market, and it shows that you are resilient, right? And there are different ways you can achieve this. The first way is using of renewable energy sources, right? And I'll give you an example. I'll give a very, very solid example. How many of you know that most of your mobile app, your phone, your devices, right? Whenever you use any of these software products, there is a machine somewhere that stores this information, right? So, for instance, you uploaded a picture or you save something on Google Drive, or you say something on your cloud. Now, that thing you call the cloud is a machine somewhere, like some sort of server, like some sort of data storage or a data warehouse, right? That stores this information. Now, this data storage slash warehouses actually consume a lot of electricity, all right? It requires a lot of electricity to ensure that these things are available anytime you need them, right? Now, as a product manager, one way you can also be energy conscious is by saying, okay, how do I ensure that the data I'm storing are relevant data? I'm not storing excessive data that requires more energy to be consumed, right? Or how am I optimizing the servers I'm using? Am I just building something that is just, you're layering multiple technical infrastructure that might be redundant, right? Because all of these things have an impact somewhere, one way or the other, right? So one way to be ecologically friendly is thinking about, okay, within my software products, within my digital or physical products, what are the sources
Um, I'm not
using
sure if it,
motorbikes, you deliver things
okay.
faster and you need less people. But with
Sorry, the internet got intercepted. I could see that some persons were not hearing along with me earlier. So, Mr. Shion, are you still on the call? We can't hear you. Deborah or Grace, can any of you hear him?
No, ma, I can't hear him, ma.
Okay, I'll just reach out to him.
oh, hello.
Yes, the network got intercepted, so we couldn't hear you for some time.
Wow. Okay. Okay. What was the last thing you heard? What was the last thing, or like, what was the last part you got, so I know where to pick up from? Hello. Hello. Can anybody hear me? Okay. 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 I think I can see the chat. The moderator. Can the moderator hear me as well? Hi, Grace.
Hello?
We can hear you. So the grace is
Okay. 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 Great. Okay. Thank you so much. I see the chats. I can see that, yeah, a lot of people are following. So let me share my screen again, and then let me pick up from where I stopped. Please let me know if you can still see my screen. Can you see my screen? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. So we're speaking about renewable energy sources. So I was citing an example that the most of these devices we use, most of the softwares, when you store something on the drive or in the cloud, there is a machine somewhere that is working on electricity, that is storing, that is serving as this warehouse or data warehouse, where these things are saved or kept, the server working on these things. So as a product manager who is sustainability conscious, right, you want to ensure that um, you're not storing data that is not relevant or that is not needed, right? And that you are only keeping the data that is crucial, and that you're also very conscious about how your products is impacting the economy. So, and I give an example. I said, using the child deck example, child deck ensures that they are not just delivering food to you, but the people that are delivering this food, the people that ride these bicycles, they're ensuring that these people can feed their homes, these people can feed their families. If they were using motorbikes, chances are they will need less people because people can deliver at a better speed, right? But because it's a bicycle, they can hire more people, and these people they're hiring, they're able to provide health insurance, and these people can earn a stipend which they can now live on, right? So that's an example of a business that is environment conscious, social economic conscious, all of those things, right? So all of these things are things you want to think about either as a product manager or as a lawyer who is intending to focus on sustainability or who would want to consult for businesses, right? You need to be able to think about how am I helping this business stand out by becoming more sustainable in their operations or in their business model, right? So that explains that. So let's start from um, sustainable design. So managing compliance through a product lifecycle involves ensuring that a product meets legal, regulatory, and industry standards from development to end of life, right? So what you're seeing on your screen is a detail of the different stages of creating something or creating a product, right? Especially, let's say, a physical product in this case, right? There's a point of design, conceptualization, there's a point of design, there's a point of development and testing, there's a point of manufacturing, which is building, which is production. Then there's the go-to-market part, which is distribution and sales. Then there's the post-market monitoring, which is similar to refining, right? So all of these stages, right, you need to be conscious of. They are like touch points where you can embed your sustainability, right? So for instance, in your testing, right, are there things you can do that ensures that, um you are more like you are managing your resources properly, you are managing costs, you are managing um all the factors of production in a way that, let's say, when you look back and they're asking you what's your contribution to this business, you're able to say that, yes, because of these initiatives, because of that initiatives, we reduced CO2 emissions by 20%, we reduced costs by 30%, we saved about 20 million naira as a result of the packaging we introduced. So you want to be able to think of these things, right? Because it helps you. These are the little things that help differentiate a business that is a multi-billion dollar and another that is more like not up to par, right? So you want to be curious and conscious enough to see all the stages within the product and how you can stand out in within all of those stages, right? Now we have our next subtopic, which is sustainable strategies for launching, right? So at the point of launch, you know, it presents an opportunity to also become more conscious about the environment, and you're more conscious about concerns and market demands for responsible business practices, right? So the following are the best ways to ensure your product launch is sustainable. There are four major bullet points. So the first one is define your goals and metrics, validate your product market fit, plan your launch strategy and timeline, prepare your launch assets, execute your launch, and monitor your results, right? So these are like all the stages that are required when um, doing a product launch. And all of these things are relevant to embedding sustainable strategies within the product as well, right? So to further on that, right, there are a number of strategies that can also be embedded. So you have eco-friendly packaging, right? If you're into the production of a certain product, right, it's important for you to think about eco-friendly packaging. If it's a software, think about your delivery process. Um, am I using it? Are there points within the product where you have to use human beings, right? If you have those points, then you now think about how do you want to ensure that you are like you're becoming more conscious of the impact, in either in terms of the labor laws, either in terms of their income, or either other areas of their lives, right? Then there's community engagement, and then even down to the technology, like I mentioned. Even if yours is a software and you're a product manager for a software company, you want to start asking yourself questions about how much of energy are we consuming, how much of data have we stored, how much of this data is relevant, right? And then which is not relevant. How do we cut down the ones that are not relevant so that we can cut down the amount of energy we expend or become energy efficient, right? Um, then I noted something down today. Okay, maybe I'll come to that towards the last slide, right? Um, Transparency and communication provide clear information about the product's environmental and social impact, right? So you also want to make sure that you know how to communicate the impact your product is having, in the environment and in the lives of people, right? So companies that have successfully integrated sustainability into their product life cycle, right? So here are like some examples. So there's Unilever, there's Tesla. So Tesla is also one company that, if you've heard of them, they're one of the first companies that started creating electric vehicles, right? So normally the vehicles we know these days, you have to buy fuel, and this fuel, it has a negative impact on the environment. So Tesla is one of those companies that pioneered electric vehicles, and they decided to make them. They commercialized the production of these vehicles. So that's a very strong company that is has sustainability in mind, right? They're thinking about how do we ensure that our business is also um, renewing itself. So now the next question is, what then is the future of product management, right? What then is the future of product management, right? There are three things I noted here, right? So there's AI driven insights. So product managers will increasingly use AI to analyze consumer behavior, forecast demand, and refine product features, right? So the world we live in, people, we're taking advantage of the new trend, right? So AI is something that's going to impact how product management is done. The next thing is data driven decision making, right? So you have data around how people are using your products, you have data around how people are paying for something, or how, so all of this data can be analyzed to generate some insights, right? So the future will prioritize data analytics for making more informed, precise decisions about product development and market fit, right? So if you're a lawyer and you want to stand out, I also encourage you to learn a thing about data analytics or data analysis, right? Because everything in the world is data led, right? There's data in everything you do, right? In fact, during this call, there is data as to how many hours have you spent, how many people have spoken, how many people have not spoken. All of this data can be analyzed to get some results that, okay, does it mean that the class can be done in a way that would increase engagement, all of those things. So data is everywhere. So you want to be able to know how to analyze data, right? Then there's remote collaboration and tools. So these are things that new trends that are in product management that you need to pay attention to. So, what is the role of lawyers and how can they be involved in this space, right? So, lawyers can be actively involved in the product management space at multiple stages, ensuring that products are legally compliant, protecting intellectual property, and minimize risk. So, you as lawyers, we're counting on you to be like the conscience or like the last resort, right? For this business, because uh, it is deemed that you have more knowledge, and you have deeper understanding of risk and how to mitigate risk, right? So with this knowledge on sustainability, you are now even in a better position to be able to advise companies, startups, organizations on how they can, not just even in the legal sides of ensuring that they don't have court cases and all of that, but you're able to tell them things that can improve them in terms of, okay, how sustainable, what's your sustainability score, right? How tilted are you to ensure that you are reducing your cost of, you are managing energy, you are, all of those things that ensure that the business is in a better form, right? So it's important that lawyers are more conscious of these things, right? And there are other areas, which is intellectual property, regulatory compliance, contract negotiation, risk management, privacy and data security, litigation and dispute resolution. A lot of these things, I'm sure you're familiar with it, right? So you see that in emerging technology, you as lawyers, you have a very crucial role. You're playing a very crucial role because you are coming in as that person who is supposed to provide guidance, who is supposed to, set the tone to a number of things, who is able to advise and say, okay, this is the right way to do this thing, or this is the wrong way. This is how to avoid the pitfalls, right? So it's crucial to be able to exactly know how you can niche yourself or differentiate yourself. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Let me reshare. I don't. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, 1 second. I think my slide just disappeared. Okay, I found it. 1 second. Okay. All right. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great, great, great. So, okay, we've come to the end of um, the this training exercise, and it's really exciting because this is one topic that um, was very interesting putting it together, because I realized that a number of people don't know. Um, I get a lot of questions as to how can you stand out. Whatever you do in life, the question is always, how do I stand out? And the only way to stand out is by getting information of trend, getting new knowledge on what are the current trends, how are people doing things in a new way, and then you being able to take advantage of that information, to scale. So I'll give you an example. I know a number of people that have been able to get engagement into the United Nations or the African Union and all of those things, because the only thing they did differently is because what they were doing was more sustainable, was more environmentally friendly, was social, it has high social impact, and was climate conscious, right? So you as a lawyer, you want to be able to think about these things and think about how can you embed this thing into what you do so that you can stand out, and so that you can even open up a new dimension of opportunity for yourself, or new things that you can actually try out as you launch your career, right? So we've gotten into the question segment. Let me just check my notes to be sure. Um, okay. So I remember, one particular hackathon I was a part of. I was a part of this hackathon a couple of years back, and I remember that the group of people that won that hackathon, the idea they had was they created a platform that helps people plant trees. Like, so the more you make payments on the thing, they plant a tree on your behalf. Because of that single idea, they won the grants for that entire thing. So, you want to start thinking of how can you become, because the thing is, people are looking at these things, and the more you can embed it into your products, the more you get people's audience, right? So there are other areas, embedding charity, reducing carbon footprint. Think another thing you can from this session, another thing you can start to think about is how can you learn things around data analytics? How can you learn things around cloud infrastructure? How can you, for people that already have an interest in product management, you now begin to start to think deeper. How can you maximize your knowledge in this thing, right? Because what this class has done is it has opened your mind to how these things work. It is now on you to now say, yes, being a part of this virtual internship has exposed me to this knowledge. Now I want to go deeper. I've seen what I like. Let me go deeper into these things because I think it would interest me and my career, right? So those are some of the things that I want you to put in mind. What else? What else? What else? What else? Let me see. Checking my notes. Okay. Then the other thing I also need to mention is that in the role you play especially in Nigeria, right? Most of the courts, most of schools, law faculties, they're still largely paper based, right? They still largely use paper, um, like they have to print stuff, right? Every time, right? So for someone who is tech oriented, one of the tasks I have for you is that try and think about ways you can automate some of these processes. Can you digitize some of these legal processes? Because printing of paper hurts the environment, right? Because you have to, cut down trees, you have to use electricity, it's so much of pain to the environment. So if you're listening to this call and you're thinking about one of the things ways you can make a difference, right? Think about your faculty, think about what you do as a lawyer, and think about how can you create products that automate processes, digitize, or even cut down on the high paper production, or high paper use within your industry. And I think with that, you'll be able to make a very good change in the world. So with that, I think we can call it a wrap. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. I think I can take your questions now if you have questions. Yeah, if you have questions, you can feel free to ask. Any questions? Okay. In the absence of questions, for anyone who is looking to probably in future learn from further things on my LinkedIn, from time to time I try to push out content. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll put my URL in the chat. And then if you also have questions around product management and how you can grow, or you just have questions about how you can scale your career in the product management trail, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and just let me know that you're from this particular Iltop engagement, and I'll definitely give you an audience. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your attention. I really hope you've learned a thing or two. Thank you so much, and I'll hand over to the moderator. Oh, you're muted. Okay. Hi, Grace. You're muted.
Am I still muted now?
Yes, it's
Can you
better.
hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. All right, good. So I was saying, if anyone has any question, they should please write it in the Q&A box, not on the chat box. So there's already some questions already on the Q&A. So I can go ahead and ask.
Yes, please go ahead.
Oluwadarasimi Lamide is asking, could you possibly explain more on sustainable designs?
Okay, so there are two ways you can look at it. So the first way is if it's a physical product, right? There's a part of design where okay, you're designing the packaging, you're designing the labels, all of those things. Now, sustainable design would mean within your packaging, within your labeling, are you using like biodegradable materials? You know, are you using things that are like climate conscious, things that are very positive, or would I say good to the environment? Now, in terms of software, in terms of design, largely um, the aspect of design is UI UX, where you design like the wireframe or how it looks. Now, there are a number of ways you can embed sustainability. One way could be that okay, how am I the data points, the thing like the interface, or would I say the input of the user? How are you ensuring that you are managing data in a way that you don't collect more data than is required, and in that way you don't need to store too much information on your database or whatnot. So yeah, but largely sustainable design is more focused on physical production, right? But on the software side of things, there are other minor ways you can integrate it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. An anonymous attendee is asking, sir, must a product manager know about programming? In the building stage, you mentioned some things on developing the app or no?
Okay, say that again.
Must a
Must
product manager know about programming? Because you said in the building stage, you
okay.
mentioned some things on developing the app.
Yes. So not quite. It's not a criteria to know about programming, right? You can know about the fundamentals, the basics, but it's not mandatory, right? Because basically you're going to be working with people who are programmers. Your basic duty is ensuring that these people manage build according to the time you've given them, and that what they are building is in correlation with what you have designed or with what you have conceptualized in your documentation, right? So basically that, but you don't need to be a programmer.
Very much, sir. Sir Adering Kola is asking, is product development and product management only restricted to tech?
Not quite. So there's product management within the traditional industry, which is FMCG and all of that, right? And the methodology is entirely different. They have a thing called waterfall approach, you know, all of those things. But there's product management for like physical goods, right? And there's a product management for digital goods, which is like tech, right? So yeah, so it's not just limited. So, but they have different. So the only difference is that in tech, the approach is different. The way you think about it is different. While the physical products have a different approach, but both of them require the knowledge of sustainability.
All right, thank you, sir. And Unform is asking, what are the possible tools for product management?
Uh,
Possible
there's-
tools.
okay, so there's no tool per se, but I mean, there's some tools that help you do some things as regarding your faces. So you want to manage the task of your team, you use Jira. Jira helps you with task management. You want to build a wireframe, you use Balsamic, right? You want to watch your data, you want to see how users are using your products. You use Google Analytics. So there are different tools that help you do different things at different times. So yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Another anonymous attendee is asking, as a product manager, what feasible sectors can you function or work in?
As a product manager, what's feasible? What?
Sectors can you function or work in?
You can work in any sector, you know, blockchain, real estate, e-commerce, health tech, it's endless. As far as because tech it automates a lot of things, right? So every endeavor of human life, right, that can be enabled by tech, it means that as a product manager, you know, there's even legal tech, just so you know. So yes, it's endless. It's endless.
All right. Thank you very much. There are still about 11 questions. How many more do you think we should take before we call it a day?
Yeah. Do we have the ones that
How,
are overlapping? Like maybe similar questions?
I'm sure a few maybe, but
Yeah, don't worry.
most of them are pretty detailed. Will you have time to answer all of them?
Yeah, okay, just keep asking. Keep asking. I'll make it quick.
Okay. Okay. So Ayomipe Treasure is asking, does a product manager have to be the owner of a product? Could his job not be just managing another person's innovation? Secondly, with what you explained in the building phase, I don't understand the difference between app developer and programmer. So the
Okay,
first question
so
is asking if a product manager just has to be the owner of a product.
no, you don't have to be the owner of the product. It can be another person. Now, the second question is there a difference between a programmer and app developer, right?
Yes.
Programmer is the general term. App developer is specific. So, for instance, you have iOS app developers, you have Android app developers. So, it's focused on app developers are focused on apps. Programmer is general, so it can be, web app. It can be anything. It can be, it cuts across because programming is like you coding basically. So, the next question.
So Ayomide is asking, what would you suggest as the best way to build a product revolving around content and community for a brand?
What's the what?
What would you suggest as what's the best way to build a product revolving around content and community for a brand?
Okay. The question is not so clear, but I mean, right
Yeah.
off the bat, my advice would be that first of all, study what exists, right? Study what is currently obtainable, and then think about what technological solution exists and how can you layer it to solve it better. Like, think of a newer approach to the problem and how can you solve it using tech, or or maybe making it more sustainable, and then you have your answer, right? So, next question.
So an anonymous attendee is asking, so what are those skills a product manager needs? Does it involve taking courses on digital marketing and sales?
Yeah, there are a number of skills, but primarily research is one of them. Planning, prototyping, there are a number of skills. Project planning, all of these things. So, but the first thing is that you have to start somewhere. So the first way to start is by start from using those things I taught you. Start from the research phase, understand how research is done, then move to the planning phase where you learn project planning and all of that, and then you begin to learn more skills along the way. So yeah. Next question.
Okay. Oluwadara Similamide is asking, what does considering the social implications of a product imply? Does that mean for it to solve actual problems and protect culture rather than harm it?
Wait, say that again.
He said, what do you mean when you say considering the social implications of a product? And she's
Okay.
asking, does it mean for it to
Okay.
solve actual problems and protect culture rather than harm it?
Yes, that's correct. Right? Because when you are releasing a product, you're releasing it because you want people to use it. So if people are using it and it's not impacting them positively, then you want to rethink that product. You want to change that trend. So yes, every product has a social implication, either one way or the other. Right. So yeah, because it's used by people and yeah, it obviously affects the way of life of people, right? So it's critical to think about how your product is impacting people. So for instance, there have been conversations that, oh, Instagram being used by teenagers is impacting their mental health, right? So those are some of those conversations that are coming out. So it's critical to assess also the social impacts of your product. The next question.
Okay. Rukeme is asking, so during the planning phase, you mentioned putting together products and a PRD. What is a PRD?
Okay, priority is a product requirement document. But for this one, I advise you actually take some time out to study this. It's not something that you would know entirely on this call, but it's a document that a product manager prepares, that guides the product, that talks about the product from end to end. Yeah. Go ahead. Next question.
Okay. Umfon is asking, okay, Umfon, I've answered it. Okay, let me just, what are the implications of AI and machine learning on product development?
Uh, yeah, I would say it's currently it's helping people develop products faster. Now there's a way programmers can actually build solutions using AI without having to spend hours, right? So some of these things are helping the development process of products. So yes, I'd say yes, it's making the development process faster. Next question.
Okay. All right, let me just read this one. Favor is asking, okay, she's saying, looking at the litigation system in Nigeria, our judges still record longhand. This means prolonged sessions affecting people socially, more use of paper, which means more tree felling, meaning affecting the environment. What she's asking is, as a young tech enthusiast who builds an app that helps to record processes and writes for the judge, how do we break the bias against automated technology in our judicial system?
Yeah, it's a step-by-step process, but I like that this person is thinking in this direction, right? But trust me,
Mhm.
there's always a groundbreaking moment for any product. The first time people use the mobile phones, right? There's always going to be that, oh, okay, is it possible? Is it not possible? But then it became a norm, right? So I think it's a venture that's worth exploring because it has, like, the world no matter what anybody thinks, things will keep advancing and keep changing. So it's either you choose to be a part of it or you watch it happen, right? So I'd really say yes. There might be bias, but iterate on it, think about newer ways, and then you'll find more answers. Yeah, go ahead. Next question.
Okay. Miss Summer is asking, how best can we incorporate product management into the traditional legal setting we have in our present day Nigeria? It's very similar to the previous question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah. So more or less, think about new problems. Everybody has like problems are existent everywhere. So think about pick one problem within your space and think about one technology that can solve that and embed it and then test it and see how it works. Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Next question.
Imediong is asking, so when creating a niche, for instance, health tech, do you need to have knowledge about this niche or a product manager can just focus on managing the product itself?
Yeah, you would need basic knowledge, right? But it's not a criteria. You can research and learn more, right? Or you can work with someone who has subject matter knowledge, like someone has domain knowledge in that field. But it's not a requirement. Once you just understand the rudiments, then you're good to go.
Okay. Iroko Elizabeth asked, I think her first question has actually been answered, but I'll go to her second one where she says, also as a product manager who manages a food restaurant, what can one do to make that restaurant more unique, just like the examples you gave on Child Deck?
Uh, make it more unique. Say that again.
As a product manager that manages,
Mm-hmm.
as a product manager who manages a food restaurant, what can one do to make that restaurant more unique?
Okay, there are many ways. Branding. Can it be cheaper? Can it be faster? Sustainability is also another thing. Can it be more sustainable? There's so many factors, so many things you can change to become more unique. Your branding, it could also be your target. Are you focusing on a persona, right? Maybe you are feeding people
Yes.
who are Gen Zs or something. So there's so many ways actually. Yeah. Next question.
Okay. An anonymous attendee says, Sir, you said we have retirement phase and you called it a silent phase. Why?
Because not all products go through that phase, right? Not all products require you to retire something at different points. So that's why it's silent. Yeah. Next
Um,
question.
E. Oluwa says, you mentioned earlier that to stand out as a lawyer, we should learn about cloud infrastructure and data analytics.
Mhm.
Please shed more light on this. What do you mean by cloud infrastructure?
So cloud infrastructure is like so a number of these things you use, right, is saved somewhere called the cloud, right? So um, it's crucial to know how that works because if you are talking about technology, you want to know it end to end, right? So not just the interface, not just the front end and the back end, know about like what actually makes these things work the way they work. So when you know them, it's now easy to iterate, it's now easy to advise, even as it's easy for you to now say, oh, yes, this is the best way to go about this thing, right? So yeah. I believe that answers it.
Okay. Leonie is asking, she said, I didn't get what you said about product iteration. Please, can you explain more on it? What's product iteration?
Iteration is more like developing minor improvements on something, right? So for instance, you have a water bottle, right? Maybe you change the color, or you change the label, or you change the opening, and it could, you add another handle to make it more fancy. So iteration is like basically adding things to improve it, right? Little or major, but yeah, that's it.
All right. Victory Mesoma is asking, are there federal agencies who verify the sustainability of a product, or whose stamps are needed to verify sustainability?
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure, but I know there are some certifications here and there. There's SON. There are some things that just help with ensuring that things are sustainable. But I'm sure the person needs to do more research to know. But yeah, I think there are some actually.
Okay. Please, guys, stop asking questions. The questions we have here, these are the last ones we'll take. Um, Temilola is asking, please, what is the carbon footprint of digital products and how can this be reduced?
Uh, it varies product by product, right? But one way it can be reduced is by ensuring that you are reducing the energy use, because all of this electrical stuff uses electricity. So, and the only way you can do that is reducing the data storage and all of those things. So I believe that answers that question. So next question.
Okay. Jennifer is asking, for a company or organization that makes a living by making papers, which affects the environment, or through other sources that affect the environment, how can I, as their legal representative, make a change for them?
Yeah, digitizing that process, automating the process. It just requires you thinking about what can you introduce that can reduce the use of paper. And once you find that, then you've cracked the code. Yeah.
Okay. Awolana Favor is asking, Nigeria is still new to sustainable practices, hence our legislations in that area is a bit underdeveloped. How can we as law students amplify our voices about this area of law?
Yeah, it starts as, look at, thinking about this program, this is a very good step. So you want to ensure that you keep that within your community, in your groups, have activities, create outreaches, create engagements, work on you can even write a white paper or write a document and publish it on this particular sector, and then from there someone might read it and then it becomes a policy. So yeah, those are little ways to make the change. Yeah.
Okay. So our last question, Amy Diong is asking, I'm undergoing a training as a product manager. I would love you to throw more light on the relationship between product management and law.
Yeah, there's some connection, right? First one is that as regards um, com- checking that the products or the idea is compliant with law, and you can advise, you can consult, you can also champion products in the legal space, right? So you can completely transition into a product manager, or you can become a consultant for product for founders, helping them understand how they can avoid breaching the law when creating, or when especially looking at this topic, right? How can they become more sustainable? All of these things are ways you can apply the knowledge. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, I need to.
Madam,
Yeah,
yes,
I need to say is that this is the first
yeah.
court that actually asks a very good number of questions. That's very impressive. It means a lot of you are following, and a lot of you actually have a keen interest. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time. It's a pleasure, and I'm happy you learned a thing or two. And once again, thank you, Deborah, for giving me this rare privilege, and looking forward to doing more with you. Thank you so much, everyone. All right, bye, guys.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Madam
you very
Deborah.
much. I really appreciate you. Ladies, yes, if you're able to doing a game, that was highly good. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you for sacrifice and for dishing out this knowledge of yours. I know that if we leave you to it, people learn everything that we need to learn today, right? Of course, we won't be able to learn everything. People do really appreciate this sacrifice of yours and highly insight session that you have provided us with. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I know that the ladies will respond by and connect with you. Please we'll share your LinkedIn URL so connect with you. LinkedIn and any other social media platform at your choice. And of course, we'll share the lessons, these great lessons that they have picked from this session today that have brought them to a new level, with new role and new opportunity within the emerging tech space and the emerging roles within the digital space. They will definitely connect with you, share the lessons, and tag you on LinkedIn. So thank you so much, Mr. Shion. I'll reach out to you. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Sheo.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like Deborah, because her hand was up and I was trying. Deborah's hand is up, ma. I think she can't unmute herself.
Oh, okay. Hello. Hello.
Okay.
Okay. So yes. So we're going to delve right into the next section, which is spotlighting the intern of the week. I want you to show your excitement by reactions. Who is going to be the intern of the week of last week? Grace, please. I've sent a flyer to you. Please, I would need you to help me to share that to share your screen to share that flyer. So maybe you can comment in the chat box. Who do you think is going to be the intern of the week?
Sorry, Deborah, you sent it to my phone?
Yes, your WhatsApp.
My phone is very far from me, or I can't reach it.
Okay.
Maybe
Please,
send it to my email because.
Can I be made
Yes.
a co-panelist? Let me be made a co-panelist so that I can easily share it.
Madam Deborah, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I think, Deborah, what's happening? I made you a co-host when you rejoined. Oh.
Let me private chat you my email, so maybe you can send it there, because my phone is I have to keep it far so that my network won't break.
Okay, try now. Let her try now. Deborah, is it fine now? Have you joined as a panelist now?
Let me see. She's still an attendee. She hasn't joined.
It was showing. Okay, I think she has joined now.
Sorry.
Yes, it should. It should network.
Message her. Please be patient, everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry,
Yes.
Deborah.
Yeah. She's a co-host now.
Yes, it should be the network.
Can you share your screen now, Deborah?
Okay, so we'll delve right into it. So we spotlighted at the beginning of last week. We introduced the intern of the week spotlight with a basic initiative to encourage active participation in the activities. So before we announce the intern of the week, I want to actually personally appreciate